Hello everyone. In our last session, we looked at the important features of the Victorian age and a quick look at its timeline. We also looked at certain specific terms which are associated with the era. One such term or a phrase which usually is associated with the Victorian age is the Victorian temper. Now, when we say Victorian temper, we are actually referring to Victorian attitudes. Before we know and discuss what exactly are the Victorian attitudes, just have a quick recap of the salient features of Victorian era to understand this temper more critically. We know that England became the world's most powerful and richest country in this era by ruling a quarter of the world's population, and it had the largest empire. We have also read that it was an age of industrialization and number of factories were sprawling up in London. We also see that there were vast improvements in the living as well as the working standards of the people because of growing capitalism, industrialization, and large number of production houses. This industrialization or rise of capitalism resulted into the emergence of various towns. Like small places also started developing into towns because of the setting up of industries. When we look at the modes of communication and transportation, railways were constructed. Now earlier we had horse-driven carriages in the Victorian era as modes of transport. Now they were replaced by railways. So it became easier for people to move from one place to another. A lot of scientific inventions. This was an era when we see a lot of scientific inventions like the telephone, the radio, railways, sewing machines, etc. So all these inventions were related to the development of technology and making life easier and move towards a capitalistic society. Then talking about culture and architecture, it was not that culture and architecture were neglected, rather many museums were constructed, and we see a kind of Gothic revival in architecture because the people or the architects were still influenced by the Gothic and classical ideas. So there was a conflict between those Gothic and classical ideas, and there were so many churches and museums which were constructed keeping into consideration the new modes of architecture. One very interesting thing was that photography emerged during this period, and it is said and mentioned that the first photograph was of Queen Victoria herself, and in England it's not very popular for the queens to be photographed, but she was the first monarch who was photographed. Another important characteristic of this period was, as we discussed earlier, was the advancement of the different modes of communication also, because telephone was invented, railways grew up. Goods were now easily transported by steamships and railways, and trade facilitated. So we know that it was an age of development. Steamships, we have often seen the picture of the steam engine when we search on the internet about Victorian era. International travel became easier and popular. So cinema, telephone, telegraph, cars, aircrafts, all these developments or progress that Britain made during this era, it gave a boost to the economy of Britain. Now we look at the term Victorian temper. Let's have a specific definition given by Oxford English Dictionary. Its stance on the word Victorian, it says something of or belonging to, designating or typical of the reign of Queen Victoria. That is something which is between the period 1837 and 1901, and also defined as resembling or typifying the attitudes which are very peculiar or characteristic of the Victorian era. And some of these peculiar characteristic features are prudishness, strictness, old-fashioned and outdated. Now these are the terms which are very contrary or contradictory to whatever we have read that England was progressing. But this progress brought about a kind of arrogance and prudishness among the people. People started, they behaved more strictly because now they wanted to behave as per morals. And old-fashioned and outdated, again these are terms because there was a clash between the rich and the poor. So we have, on the one side we have the elite class, on the other side we have people who were not so educated and not so fashioned as the elite ones were. This term Victorian temper, it is often used to describe Victorian attitudes, this we know. It refers to multiple strands of ideology. Now when we say ideology, we are talking about the thinking, the multiple kinds of thinking that prevailed during this period. The multiple kinds of thinking initiated or developed out of the division of political and social thoughts, because the political and social thoughts were divided between the conservatives and the liberals. The conservatives were exemplified by Disraeli, William and John Ruskin, and the liberals were exemplified by James Mill and J.S. Mill. The conservatives favored social hierarchy and they had a taste for order. That is, they had a taste for classical art and older arts. While the liberals, they believed in utilitarian philosophy of individual and collective action, believed in the classes to be equality. We also see a great divide between the believers and the agnostics. Now among the believers we have, as discussed in our earlier session, we had a name called Cardinal Newman and John Ruskin, the earlier John Ruskin. While on the agnostic side we have figures like George Eliot, Charles Darwin, Thomas Hardy, etc. Now we also see that there was a clash between science and faith during this period, because we have liberals on the one side and conservatives on the other. This clash between science and faith developed out of Darwinism, the Darwin theory that challenged the theory of evolution. It gave rise to this clash between science and faith. The Victorian temper is an era which is marked by, the Victorian age is an era which is marked by social hypocrisy and sexuality. Now this hypocrisy is termed as the Victorian prudishness. Now this is how they have defined this term. The intellectual debates in the society that were going on between the science questioning and the faith questioning. Another feature was a fascination for technology. Now the elite class or the educated masses, they were fascinated towards technology and scientific developments were taking place. It is said that it was an age of first computer, and computing machine was designed by Charles Babbage. And another interesting fact is that Byron's daughter Ada Lovelace, she is credited to have developed the first computer program. In terms of arts, we see that the Victorian temper was caught between ideals of moral functions of art and pure aestheticism. Now when we look at this pure aestheticism and moral function of art, we need to have a quick look at the aesthetic movement that was developed by Walter. Before we move on to aestheticism, just have a quick look at the Oxford movement, which is another term which is being associated with the Victorian temper. Now this Oxford movement is also known as Tractarianism. The chief spokesman of this movement was John Henry Newman, and the movement, it is said, that originated in John Cable's sermons. In these sermons, he attacked the government's plans to de-recognize the Anglican Church of Ireland. 90 tracts were published. It is said that most of them were written by Cardinal Newman. These tracts, they argued that the Church of England, it derived its authority from being direct ascendants of the apostles. Now Newman, he put himself into a controversy by his tract number 90, and he was arguing that 39 articles could be seen as Catholic, and this debate went on, and he was ostracized for this. Just have a quick look at aestheticism and decadence. This was a movement in 19th century England and France. It came from France actually. Aestheticism is a movement which has the slogan called art for art's sake, that is only for pleasure. Among its very significant supporters, we have Oscar Wilde, Walter Pater, the Rossettis, etc. Now, what did they say and what did they do? They believed that the primary function of art was aesthetic and sensual, not intellectual and moral. This is very important, I repeat, that they believed that the primary function of art was aesthetic and sensual, not intellectual or moral. Art, they said, aims to please the senses rather than convey an argument. And so, they say that art should encourage the excessive use of symbols and imagery, because excessive use of symbol and imagery contribute to pleasure. Now, what does this mean is that beauty for them was the primary focus of the art was beauty. Decadence, on the other side, was a pejorative term used by critics to disparage the aestheticism of France and the symbolists and the pre-Raphaelites, etc. We are not going into too much of details of these aestheticism and decadence because we'll be reading these movements later on. Now, when we have talked about the salient features of Victorian era, the Victorian temper, we move on to the literature of the Victorian period. We'll be taking this genre-wise. We'll be taking prose, poetry, drama and fiction separately in our next sessions.